Chers amis, membres de l'ODG, bonjour. Bienvenue dans cette nouvelle édition de votre émission Face à Face or Face to Face. Today, unlike the previous one, we will hold this one in English with my guest is Dr. Houssain Kettani. Dr. Houssain Kettani is a scholar. He's a professor at American University in Iran. He's been teaching for about 25 years in various universities around the world, but particularly in the United States. Run so many research and got raised funds for the various projects. Dr. Kettani is well known in the field of artificial intelligence, and we will be sparring with him about artificial intelligence with all the problems it has been raising lately, particularly with the ChatGPT and other applications that we've been in contact with recently. Dr. Kettani, welcome to Face to Face. Very pleased to meet you. Usually what we do in this show, we start with a presentation. So why don't you present yourself?
Thank you very much for having me. And I grew up in different countries. Grew up first in Saudi Arabia, then I got my high school from Morocco, and then my undergrad was I got my electrical engineering degree from North Cyprus. And then I went to the United States. I got my master and PhD, both in electrical engineering from University of Wisconsin-Madison. Mm-hmm. And I've been in the U.S. almost quarter century, and then I decided to return to Morocco last year, joining Houssain University in Iran.
25 years in the United States, so you were well established. And all of a sudden, back to Morocco? Why?
Because it's the root of family, also to raise so our kids get to know Moroccan culture, get to relate to it before they grow up again and decide what they want to do with their lives.
So many universities. You taught in South Carolina, Aiken. Fort Hays State University, Florida Polytechnic University, Dakota State University. Which one did you like most, or were you involved most with, and why?
Each one I had different kind of job title and responsibilities, and so I enjoy my current situation wherever I am. So they all were enjoyable experiences. Dealing with students, dealing with international relationships, like with different universities around the world, chairing conferences, and looking for resources, monetary resources, and also connections to help.
Talking about
academia.
The project with DoD,
yes.
and Department of Defense and Department of Education. Yeah.
So they were all they were all enjoyable. And as far as states are concerned, like where you live, of course, my family and I enjoyed Florida the most.
Yes. Well, back to Morocco, where you are teaching. You've been teaching for the last year, artificial intelligence at Houssain University. How is the university? Before we start talking about what's been going on with artificial intelligence, the fear. How is the university?
The university is kind of still unique in Morocco. It's isolated in the Atlas Mountains, and it follows the American system of education in terms of number of credit and liberal arts education. And so students, they speak English very well. They are polite. Their interaction with professors and their colleagues.
Is that the reason it's unique? You say it's unique. Is that the reason, or there are some other attributes that you would want to share?
Well, it's in the mountains, greenery, nice scenery, and it's a truly American system compared to other fee-based universities. And and it's in a major expansion phase. So between 2020 and 2025, it's projected to double its student enrollment. And with that, there is a major hiring process to increase the number of professors, faculty members to help in teaching, research, and service related to academia.
At Al Akhawain University in Ifran, you're teaching artificial intelligence. That's your area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And today, there are so many questions about artificial intelligence ever since ChatGPT came about. And question, I mean, some people do think that it's a danger, it's a real danger. We should stop, we should do something about it. First, is it really a danger? And second, how do we, if we were to stop?
It depends at what level. So ChatGPT, when we talk about AI, like I teach AI-related things, including algorithms, cybersecurity courses, but ChatGPT in particular, or AI in general, is just a tool. It could be used in the right direction or in the wrong direction. So when we talk about ChatGPT, which is a program...
We'll get to that later on, but please, I mean, I'm much interested in this question that I've been reading all over the place for the last, let's say, few months. It is a danger. Guys, something is happening. We need to do something about it. How dangerous is it?
For example, in Italy, it's blocked. In Germany, they are considering blocking it. Mm-hmm. In the United States, President Biden convened a meeting with tech experts and his tech advisors to see what they can do about it. It endangers the quality of education.
Okay.
It endangers who's really doing research. Mm-hmm. So there is the risk that somebody could write a paper using ChatGPT and claim that they wrote it.
Okay.
Also, there is a risk of cheating by students, that they can use it to find answers, so their grade doesn't really reflect their knowledge, which destroys the model of university. Mm-hmm. And so it's like I say, it's like having a sophisticated calculator that students use while studying calculus. So you have to know how to do things by hand to settle the theory.
Well, those are the things we learn in preschool, elementary, primary, and then college. But when we get to the university, there are so many other things that we already have, and we learn others. So is that where we are today? We're still basic in our learning process?
Well, we are basic at each level. So each level has its basic. So ChatGPT for that expert is an important tool to use to advance and to progress. But for a person who's learning how to code, for example, they can use ChatGPT, then they can produce coding assignments without them knowing how to code. So that endangers, that doesn't make them really learn how to code. But the professor will think that they know how to code and would certify that they get a good grade in coding. So that's that. But if they are professional coders, then they can use ChatGPT to augment their mm-hmm. coding. So these are examples. So at each level, like AI, when a student learns AI, there is a basic level. They have to learn, they have to understand the theory, they have to memorize some terms. But if they just use ChatGPT and test, well, they would get the answer and they wouldn't really learn anything.
Well, there are two teams. One would say it's laughably easy to cheat on assignments. Okay, and others would say, including it does not, let's say, reinforce critical thinking, and others would say, and there are universities who did that, would say that it could be used. All we have to do is, let's say, hand it out, let students use it, and see for that use to be done within some boundaries, within some limitations. What do you think?
That's true in advanced level, and as long as the professor knows that it's being used, and they know how to ask questions that that ChatGPT will be assisting the student or the learner rather than just finding the answer to them and not assisting them. And it takes skill. Like professors need to learn how to use ChatGPT and how to ask questions that even if students want to use ChatGPT, like it's not going to help them much.
We approach ChatGPT as we approach so many things with the same way, with the same thinking. Shouldn't we change our way of approaching situations like the one created by ChatGPT, and thus we would have a different teaching, a different, let's say, dynamic within the classroom or within universities?
Human beings as species, they are good at adapting to changes, but at the same time, initially they resist change. So online education was resisted for a long time until COVID came and the lockdowns, and the only way out was online education. And now the population and educators normalized with the fact of online education that exists and with us to stay. Technologies, whenever technology, like when computers came, there was a lot of talk about using them and how it's going to destroy education, but it happened that now everybody uses computing devices, including IoT, Internet of Things. Internet, the same thing. We're thinking that it's going to destroy journalism, it's going to destroy a lot of jobs, but actually just added to them. So I would think the same thing about ChatGPT, but just as with Internet, there are safeguards how to deal with issues that of concern. Same thing about ChatGPT. We need, and ChatGPT is a new AI tool that exists just like a few months ago.
There are some people who think that ChatGPT could help improve education in so many ways. How could it improve education with all the safeguards that we will put in place? How could it improve education?
It needs some thinking and discussions and how to implement it. It could augment advanced courses, for example, like finding data, finding information, and get the information. But with that, there is a danger who controls that data. For example, like internet search engines, if we get addicted to one, like Google, which most of us are, then there is a danger that they may affect the information that they give you. They affect your decision. For example, if you are searching for candidates, if they want a candidate to win, then the best information about the candidate is going to come first. And if they want another candidate to lose, the worst information about them would be the first thing that you get when you are searching their name. So with that, so who control? Yes, OpenAI controls ChatGPT, but it may be influenced by something that later influences our decision, because our information affects our decision making, and information is knowledge that we extract from data. And if somebody is controlling the data and controls how the data is transmitted to us, that would affect us and can be a source of control to the population.
You know, I used to teach you're doing that, and you've been doing that for the last 25 years. And the first time I said I gave out an exam, open book exam, everybody was looking at me. Why open book? They're going to cheat. So aren't we in the same situation today? I mean, go ahead, use ChatGPT. We'll find honesty will be there. Let's say openness will be there, and we'll see. Will teachers being adjusted to it? Mastering ChatGPT in different, let's say, levels and format, interacting with that, wouldn't it improve the teaching? Wouldn't it improve students' critical thinking to talk about that?
True, but the questions of exams and tests and assignments would be different. For example, I do give open book exams to students, and they enjoy it. But the type of question is not a question that they would just find it in the notes. So they have to think about it. So I wouldn't ask a definition of something that is already in the notes. So the question changed. But if it's a closed book, you can ask them what is the definition of this, or give them multiple choice for the answer. So the question to test their knowledge, because the whole idea is you are testing their knowledge. You are not testing their skill of using
Well, maybe we should change our way of testing. Maybe we should to adapt to adjust to what's going on, to what's coming our way. Maybe we should change. Maybe we should think about other ways to quote unquote testing, and maybe we should not test anymore.
Yes, exactly. But currently, the state of the art is that students know much more about ChatGPT than faculty. So if it's led by students, then students they may choose the easy way to find answers quickly and to get a good grade without professors knowing to adjust their questions so that ChatGPT is not so much of a help in these kind of scenarios.
You know, ChatGPT, I'm going to tell you how many, some of the, it took law exam, it did, better than a lot of students. It took so many exams today, and it did prove that, it could succeed, and it could make the exam. That's why I was saying, and that's why my question to you is changing our approach, changing the way we interact with students, changing our way anyway. Teachers do not teach anymore. Mm-hmm. Their role has completely changed. So therefore, their way of testing eventually, and I stress eventually, testing is something that needs to happen soon, to happen very, very quick. It is happening in some schools and universities.
Yeah, well, the problem with ChatGPT that it can write thesis. People use it to write their master thesis, or who knows, maybe their PhD thesis. Some use it to write a whole research paper and seek to publish it. And published it. So with that, faculty need to get a lot of training. We started some training at AUI, at Houssain University in Iran, for faculty to be aware of these things. But faculty needs to be trained, know what they can do with ChatGPT, and therefore what students can do also. And with that, they can counter. The problem with that as Elon Musk pointed out, that AI is moving too fast. And so with ChatGPT, we are already at version 4.
Yes.
So you train faculty for version 4, and all of a sudden there's version 5 that is much more powerful, and can be and put current higher education in danger as a model as we know it now. So it's going to take more more solutions, innovative solutions by faculty as a think tank to find solutions to other solutions to block it in campus, to block the IP, or a country like Italy did. So they just block it.
That's what they did in Italy.
So they block it until we figure out what we can do with it. Until we understand. Yes.
But then we will never understand, since the speed, it's getting exponential.
There is that problem, but also younger people are much more tech savvy than older people.
True.
So they would find a proxy and they would access it anyway. So if Italy blocks it, they would use a proxy in another country as an IP proxy, Internet Protocol proxy, and they can access it anyway. So blocking it doesn't. But the idea of blocking it comes from lockdown for COVID. Let us just lock down until we know how to deal with it. The same thing about ChatGPT, like Italy did and other countries are considering to do. So, but it is an important tool, and it's here to stay. And we need to know how to integrate it in higher education and in journalism, in politics, and it's a tool that can be very useful.
No, it took about 5 days for ChatGPT to be used by 1 million people, and unbelievable, and seen. And that isn't that what created the fear? If we had more time. It's like you're driving a small car. When you hit the gas, it goes slowly, and all of a sudden you have this huge car where you hit the gas and it jumps. What do? You hit the brakes. Isn't that what happened? Our fear came from the fact that we did not understand, we did not foresee what was going to happen, and therefore this call for a moratorium on AI, and that was signed, this petition, by about 4,000 people now.
Well, as I said, we as species, we resist change. So when something new comes out, like people resist it and they think in different ways. Some say, oh, if this exists, then my job would be irrelevant, or I have to do extra work to adapt to it. So that may create some fear. And some, they raise the flag against the potential drawbacks, just so that to deal with the problems. So it is a smart tool, and it has dangers if we remain in the status quo of how we ask questions and how in higher education. So it's a useful tool that eventually is going to be integrated by excellent professors.
When I look at it, when I read, and it seems to me that we are in a kind of dilemma. Technology is a game changer. You agree with that? And though we agree that it's a game changer, yet we want to protect ourselves from technology. How could that? I mean, how could we be using something that has improved our lives, improved our schools, improving so many things, and yet protect ourselves from that? And could we do it? And what means do you think we should be using to doing that?
Well, for example, you have cars, like gas-based cars.
Sure.
People still complain about it regarding pollution and want to use electric cars to produce less pollution or no pollution. So every technology still, even after 100 years of its existence, people are still discussing its drawbacks, its dangers to society, and how to deal with it. And there are people who just don't like to drive cars; they drive bikes, or they just use other older modes of transportation. So the same thing with the ChatGPT. There are people who are never going to accept to use it and always going to think of it as a danger. And like currently we have like learning management systems, and almost in every university uses it. Mm-hmm. Like you can have online quizzes, you can have online delivery of course material, but not everybody uses it. So COVID was a unique opportunity, quote unquote, sure, to force everybody to use it, but not everybody continued to use it when we came back to face-to-face.
Mm-hmm. It's been run by you some of the data that I came across to. A survey, 1,000 people, and 1,000 students between 12 and 17, commissioned by Walton Family Foundation in last February. I mean, not mm-hmm. even 2 months. More than half the teachers had used ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. More than half. Okay. 10% of them reported using it every day. Okay. But only a third of the students, nearly all those who had used it, 88% of teachers and 79% of students said it had a positive impact. Will not that improve in the coming days with the open AI working on it, with the communication with media and with people, with universities? That's what they're doing. It will improve. A few months from now, we won't talk about the moratorium anymore, I guess. Mm. We'll talk about some other things. Will we regulate? Will we go to enact regulations across the board in the United States as a lead, and in other countries?
Well, think about like when iPhone first came. So the notion of smartphones. A lot of people resisted having iPhone because they thought it's big and it's too bulky. And why do you have to have computer in your pocket? Now almost everybody has a smartphone, and it's taken for granted. Part of it because the technology evolved. A lot of apps now you can use that you were not able to use it when first iPhone came out. But also this technology created more problems at the state level about espionage, about privacy, pinpointing the location of a person, aggregating data in like Strava data showed like disclosed secret facilities of the United States all around the world because personnel were using it for Fitbit app and it was transmitting data and they produced a map, a heat map, and it turned out that Westerners use it in places like in Africa and Afghanistan, and locals don't use this kind of app. So it was a cause for revealing the secret location and the size and number of personnel in this secret location. So all this came from smartphones. So all these problems that you have a new technology, it creates problems that you never even thought of it, and it becomes an afterthought. So after it happens, then you discover that it happened. So always we have these issues with any new technology.
Yeah, these issues. I mean, this one. Much more than before, and it is isn't it another example that we cannot keep doing things the same way we have been doing them for the last, let's say, decades, for instance, particularly in education. Shouldn't we change? Shouldn't we transform our universities, our schools, our teaching process? Let's say virtuality is there, and shouldn't we get to? I mean, that's what's happening. Transform our way of approaching education.
There are models, but they didn't catch momentum yet. There are online universities, but there is discussion about the quality of online education versus on-campus education, even currently. The same thing when it comes to ChatGPT, like when you integrate it and you produce tech-savvy learners, are they going to be better than others? I believe if they truly know what they know, and they use ChatGPT to augment their knowledge, then they can really go very far. So a model of higher education could be introduced to deal with these changes in society and technology, and it is for investors and researchers and knowledgeable people to deal with it and try to come up with such model that is plausible and it's studied enough to produce quality knowledge and knowledgeable segment of the population that help our society.
So universities won't be the same as they are today. Degrees will eventually disappear. Testing, we will not be testing. We will be, let's say, going on the field, hands-on, and looking improvement, individual improvement, collective improvement.
Some well-known companies, they no longer require diploma or a degree for hiring. Like a lot of people are educated now. A lot of people have advanced degrees that employers and look for other qualities that may not have been acquired through higher education, but also acquired through experience or through character, which is referred to as soft skills. So if a quote unquote a new paradigm of a university, maybe it's still going to be called university because that's what we are used to. University is a place where people get educated and get certified that they know this stuff. In the past, maybe it was more like a professor or a mentor that certifies that this student knows something, and the student can use them as a reference. And then later became institution like universities. Now it could be a new model of university that produces this kind of skilled population. So if this skilled population is productive and employers seek their knowledge and quality and their existence, then this kind of paradigm of a university could really be advanced and be sought after and be a paradigm or a model for other universities or another people, investors or educators or countries to follow its suit or to adopt.
No, you've been here for the last year, and so how is it in Morocco? You've been attending so many conferences, smart city education, smart cities, regulating AI perspective and challenges, symposium, meeting. What's the situation in Morocco? How are we protected, or how are we doing as far as artificial intelligence is concerned in our country?
Morocco is so-called the best kept secret. It's thriving, both in higher education and in technology. It's amazing the things that I've seen since I returned. We have truly a smart city in the making, which is like Berkane. We have other models around the country that try to be a smart city, and because smart city is a continuing process, it's never ending process.
Yes.
But higher education is great. When I left Morocco in the 90s, it was nothing like now. So the prospect, the future is great, and so
great. The prospect of the future, how great, and in what sense?
In the sense now, when you have a new technology, for example, when we had line-based phones. Mm-hmm. We couldn't have enough infrastructure and investment so that our phone lines reach rural areas and further places. But when the technology of cellular phone came out, we were able to reach further with less invested money. Mm-hmm. So when there is a new technology, when you adopt it, you can be in the forefront and you can advance in it and bypassing all the lag that you had throughout the years for lack of infrastructure investment.
So what you're saying that we're good as consumers of what comes from abroad. How about producing ourselves and becoming some kind of joining the consortium producing companies or countries? 30, 40 years ago, China was really back out there, and today China is a leader in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of data science, and what's the state, the situation in Morocco? So we still consume meat. Do we produce anything?
Well, but at this level, we are consuming well. Okay. So in the past, we were not consuming much. We were bringing skilled workers from other countries like France or other, and they do things for us. Now we can produce them locally and we can consume them. And when we perfect or we reach a level where we are good consumers, we use the technology good, then we can innovate and adapt to it and add to it.
I mean, technology is evolving at light speed. But can we join? I mean, wait to be the perfect consumer and then later on join the producer of. Is that something you're saying?
We can. It takes a will and investment, but we already invested enough that, for example, like city of Berkane that we discussed earlier, that's something that a role model for the world. So we can develop technologies that solve our own problems that are related to Morocco, and innovate in that aspect. So when we invest more in research and development, then we can. So China became a good consumer, and then later, like Chinese product at the beginning were not that quality.
True,
but the quality improved. Now even iPhone was made until a few years ago was made in China, for example.
Yeah. Early in the show, I asked you about universities as they are today and what they would come in the future. State of Iowa is now using metaverse for a university. Is that? And I understand that here in Morocco there are some, let's say, conference being prepared about education in the metaverse. Would you think that in a few years education would be in the metaverse, and we would no longer see our students going to the classical, quote unquote, universities as we knew them? You and I certainly knew them myself.
Well, I don't know how much different than online education. So I can be anywhere in the world and still connect and communicate with my students, both in video and audio, and discuss things and teach them online. So the metaverse may just add more exciting technology to it, but we are already there, I think.
In the education?
Well, in online education. So in other words, me, like the professor and the students, all of them could be anywhere in the world and still connect online and produce education.
Well, there is a difference. When you're in the metaverse, you're like in a virtual setting, but you're together, you're interacting, you're touching, and that's evolving. Japan did that for 5,000 students. Iowa now for a full university. Maybe some other countries will be joining. China, certainly, and that would have a huge impact, wouldn't it, on our entire approach to higher education, and maybe elementary and others, but mainly higher education.
It depends on what topic we are teaching.
Anyone.
So some courses in computer science doesn't require that kind of setting and interaction. Maybe more into humanities and other courses that require that thing. But I see that we are already there with online education. Yes, it may not be as exciting as metaverse, but the idea is that you are transmitting knowledge and communicating with students from anywhere in the world in a real time.
Okay. Well, before we leave, before we end the show, I hear so many youngsters watching the show. What would you like to tell them?
To find the right role models, and to whatever they choose, they have to enjoy it, because that's how they can innovate and succeed. And there are a lot of good things in Morocco, in higher education and in technology. So it's a great time to find a way how to come back to Morocco and use those who are outside to use their knowledge, and those who are inside, there are many opportunities that now it's different than before, so they don't have to leave the country. They can learn here and produce here and succeed in Morocco.
Professor Kettani, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for your time. Friends of l'ODG, chers amis, ceci conclut notre session de ce jour, qui était avec le professeur Kettani, Houssain, professeur d'intelligence artificielle à Al-Akhawain University of Ifran. We will be seeing you next. You've asked so many questions. We will try our best to answer your questions and to get the guests you suggested.